Hello and welcome to First Coast Living. I'm Jordan Wilkerson.
And I'm Mike Prengley. The Florida Theater wants you to get ready for story time.
Yes, it's a storytelling series called Untold Stories, and it's back for season 2. Barbara Colaciello is the event's artistic director, as well as the artistic director of Bab's Lab. So thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
Yeah, tell us about the event. What can we expect?
Well, it's a really interesting event because we have 6 storytellers that are telling bits of their soul. And the reason the series is called Untold Stories because people will have a story, but then when you start unfolding it and looking for nuances, they start making connections. They'll be writing to me, they call me, they text me and say, I just figured something out. And so it's sort of like doing, excavation, So by the time the audience hears the story, they're blown away by the connections that the storyteller has made, which I was at a party and I said, oh, this happened sometime. It's just a different feeling.
But are they true stories, I guess?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, they are?
Oh, absolutely. Once in a while someone says, well, I can say this, and I'm like, absolutely not. Oh. You don't manufacture anything.
I gotta tell my husband
Interesting.
that.
Yeah.
He likes to embellish his stories.
Well, but in this, we have to have authentic voices, and sometimes it's an avoidance, and people have a tendency to want to wrap everything up neatly, and that's not how life is.
Right.
Sometimes we come to the end of the story, and the person says, and now I'm moving through it, and I'm going to figure it out. They don't have this neat ending.
Right. That's what makes life so fun and interesting, right? And this is going to be season 2, so how will this be different from season 1?
Honestly, season 1 went really well. I learned a lot in terms of letting the storytellers have a little more time for telling their story because we put so much pressure on them, but we actually have the time. We have the first act, the second act. We always have a musical guest. We've been doing some neat stuff. Some of the storytellers are musicians, so they'll suddenly break out with their drums or violin. So it's a little bit, you don't know what to expect. And I will keep up the fact that I warm up the audience by get them on their feet. Okay. And I always create a dance for the themes. Like I'm working on my dance for building bridges. Last time it was really funny because it was fish out of water. And the whole audience, fishing. And people love it. I mean, so it's a very intimate event. You feel like it's a family gathering. That's the feeling I want. You're in the Florida Theater's living room.
Okay.
And think about it, like what building is more storied than the Florida Theater?
How do you pick the stories, though, or even the artists who are going, is there an audition process, or what are you looking for exactly?
No, there's not an audition process, but a bunch of the storytellers come from the fact that they show up at Bab's Lab, that's my space, at Cork Art Studio, and we have monthly story slams. And people will show up and start telling stories, and they're really honing their craft, and I'll think, wow, they would be really good for this series. So I give them the themes. I say, do you have a story? And they go off and they let me know. There are other people that approach me that we know in the community, but they've never told their story. They're advocates, they're community leaders, but we don't know that, like, why.
So, and I have a question about why. Why create something like this? What drove you?
Well, I've been driven from very, very young. I know there's immediate connection between people when I know something about you. And we make assumptions, so we just don't know. And when you start talking, I do a lot of leadership and conferences and things like that. One of the first things I asked is find someone in the room you don't know and find 3 things you have in common. People just start talking and we both have an Aunt Joe and, Uncle Joe in Iowa or something, and immediately through story, they feel like they know that person.
Right.
So it really helps with communication, the whole process, and even unifying people.
Yeah.
Right? So that's wonderful to hear.
Right. And it's oral storytelling is different than, someone who writes something and does a reading of it.
Oh, okay.
The sound of it. As an acting coach, I also have to be sure that you sound like in the moment, you're discovering your words, and they're not words on a page that's flat. Those images have to come back off the page, and you go from image to image to image. Rather than people, I could see them going, what was I wrote on that the second
Oh,
day?
right, yeah,
You
no.
can see them doing it. It's like, no. We
Yeah,
have to.
it has to come from the
disconnect.
heart.
Yes, from
Yeah,
the heart.
It's from the heart. I can see she's just so passionate about what she does. It gets me real excited and motivated. So what kind of things can we expect from the performances?
They're all different. One of the way I put the cast together, I'll say, well, I have this type of personality, somebody that's very, physical and animated. And then you have some people that are quiet and they bring the audience to them and they have an intensity. And you just don't know what to expect when the person comes on.
Right.
And they slowly are revealing themselves. So I tell all the storytellers, it's really not about you. You could take some pressure off of you. You're a cast. And when people come, they're walking away with the whole evening, and then they love the mix. Wow, he was so good, and that was so scary, but oh, she was so funny, and and it's that sort of thing that I'm looking for. I've directed my whole life, so it's also I'm casting. I'm good at casting.
Yeah.
At least I think I am.
Right.
I've gotten a good response to the people I've put together.
Okay, so when exactly is this again, and how can people get tickets?
So it's this Thursday. This is what's different. Last year it was a Friday or a Saturday.
Okay.
So the whole series are Thursdays. They start at 7:30. We started at 8, so it's 7:30. And I advise you just call up the box office directly. No service fees, and they are
like
great. They will find out where you want to sit, and they will make sure it happens. No one has any problems with that.
Wonderful.
And I do have to give a shout out to Numa Cecilin, who's the executive director of the
yes,
Florida
we've met
Theater.
him. Yes.
It's his 10th year anniversary. I love working with him, but he also just felt really passionate about this program of it brings different neighborhoods together, because it's very important that they connect to where in Jacksonville their story's taking place.
Right.
Whether they're going or coming. We hook up to, that people get those images.
Yeah.
So Numa's just been an advocate and decided to bring back the 4th season. And we could do it because we have a sponsor, the Wolfberg Foundation.
Okay.
So it's like a group, a little tribe that really care about storytelling.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for telling us
Sure.
about storytelling to us today.
Yes.
That's right. A story slam. I like that. I learned a new word today.
Oh, there you go.
Story slam.
Right. People tell stories and at the end, people vote.
Oh, see,
all right then.
That's great. So thank you. If you want to broaden
Thank
your
you so
horizons like me, thank Barbara and head to our website, firstcoastliving.net.